Alright, so today I'm not really going to be tying a fly necessarily, but I'll be showing you a couple different techniques to for making woven nymph bodies. Basically the first technique that I'll show you is more of a, I think of it more as knotting the two materials to form a weave. And then the second technique that I'll show you is kind of a, it seems like more of a weave to me. So the first one's a little easier, doesn't require quite as much dexterity, but the second one is quite a bit quicker to do. And then after that I'll show you kind of a, a neat effect that you can get using the second technique and some different materials. So I'll get to doing it. So the first one, like I said, is going to be a knotted technique, and what I've done basically is I've just taken a hook and I've tied tied antron, two different colors of antron, and I've kept those on each side of the hook as I've went down. And then first, before I tied those in, is I tied in some ribbing material. So what you want to do, and usually I'd have this situated so that it was facing me, like so, and then I would tie, but I'm going to do this kind of to show you what I would see as I'm doing this technique to create a woven body. So basically you put your hook in so it's pointing straight up, and now I want the lighter color to be my underbody. So with that, I'm always going to take and you basically tie a simple knot with your underbody color, which is the olive in this case. I'm going to cross that over the top, just loop that in. This basically gives you your overhand knot, and now you can basically, with that knot, you open it up and it creates like this loop here. You pass that over the hook eye with your underbody material underneath the hook and your overbody material on top, and then you pull tight, just like so. Now you want to repeat that process. You always want to keep that underbody material crossed on top. Make your overhand knot. Like so. And then you want to go ahead, open up that loop right there, pass the underbody material underneath, overbody material on top, pull tight. And then you can just work your way up the body. And there are other materials that you can use. Uni yarn being a really good material. With antron, you know, you're dealing with fibers that aren't fused or in any way, so it can sometimes be a little harder. It's also kind of a slippery material, so it doesn't hold quite as well in between knots as like a uni yarn would, but it does pretty good. I've done flies doing this with floss, and that one, it's kind of can be a little bit of a headache, because each time you pull tight, it wants to loosen up right away. So you just work your way up, making your overhand knots with your underbody material on top, and then opening up that loop, passing your underbody material underneath, overbody material on top. Alright, and I think you get the idea for that. And then basically what you'd do is you'd take your thread, bring these forward, tie them off on either side, and then bring your rib up through. Okay, so now I'm going to show you the second method of weaving, which does not require any knotting and is quite a bit quicker. However, it does require constant tension on the materials that are being woven. So again, I've prepared my hook in the same way. I've taken and tied black antron down one side and olive antron down another, with my ribbing material having been tied in first. Now, real important, I am going to hold this, the olive under antron is going to be my underbody again, so I'm going to hold that in my left hand and take and hold my black antron, my overbody, in my right hand. And now the black antron is always going to stay on top, and basically the olive ribbing is going to be kind of, or olive antron is going to be doing all the work here. So I take and I pass the overbody over top of the hook. I come around, stay on that same side of the hook, go down and over the top of that black antron, and then I come around to the other side of the hook. Now I take my black antron and I come across over the hook. Now I'm going to go stay on this side of the hook and go over top of the black antron and then move to the other side of the hook again. Now I'm going to bring the black antron back over and repeat the process. So I'll just do it very slow for you, so hopefully you can get the hang of it. So I'm passing the olive underneath, bringing the black across the top, going over and under the hook with the olive, bringing the black over top. I'm just going to work my way forward. And you can pull back nice and tight with your overbody material as you hook over it with the underbody, and that'll keep your materials very tightly packed against one another. It makes for a really nice tight weave, and you'll get a lot of really nice segments as you work your way forward. Alright, and when you're happy, just go ahead and pull the fibers together and hold them with one hand. And now I'm going to take and restart my tying thread. While holding on to these, I'm just going to take my loose finger here, pinch my tying thread, and get it started with a jam knot. Now I'm going to clip that tag so that doesn't get in my way. And then work your way tight up to where you stopped the weaving. Transfer hands and then come over the top. Whoops. And just tie that off nice and tight. And trim. And that's the second method of weaving. And I can show you what it looks like when you work your ribbing forward. And then I forgot to mention, for each of these methods, you do have to, once you tie in your materials, you do have to whip finish and clip off your tying thread. It's impossible to do while keeping your tying thread on. So now with your ribbing, I'll show you. You kind of work it up into each segment, and where you've woven it on the sides, it creates kind of a little notch, and it fits real nicely down in there, so you can just work your ribbing forward in between those notches that you've created during the weaving process. Just bring that up, tie it off, and there you go. You've got another woven nymph body. Okay, so now I wanted to take the time to show you the first part of a pattern that I'd tie using the second weaving technique, and just to kind of demonstrate kind of the neat effect that you can achieve using the materials that I'll show you. And basically it's the first part of this little woven stonefly pattern that I've been kind of messing around with. So I'll show you how that goes. So basically what I've done is I've taken a Cabela's Model 21 curved shank hook in size 10, and first I put down a little dubbing ball with brown Kaufman stonefly dubbing, and then I attached basically 2 brown goose biots for the Circe at the back. Then I went ahead and I tied in a piece of ribbing down the top of the hook, and this is a piece of 6-pound brown Maxima. Then down either side, on the side closest to me, I put down a piece of orange Antron, and then on the far side I tied in a piece of 8-pound mono filament. Then what I did is, for an underbody, and this is part of the effect that I'll be showing you, basically all I did is I tied in about half a dozen pheasant tail fibers by the tip, wrapped those forward, and tied them off at about the 2/3 point on the hook. So now I'll show you what it looks like when you weave all that. So basically I'm going to hold my underbody material, which is the orange Antron, in my left hand, and my other material in my right. I'm going to bring that mono over the top, do the orange Antron underneath, and slowly work my way up the hook. And the mono is a little harder to work with because it's kind of slippery in your hands, so it's hard to get a real tight grip on it. But just take your time and work your way forward, and it should work for you. Alright, and so when we reach our point where we want to tie off, let's go ahead and grab both fibers again. Restart your thread with a jam knot. Go ahead and trim your tag end to get that out of the way. Work your thread close to where you ended your woven body. And then come up over the top and tie that off. And just trim your excess. And tighten up on that. And then you can bring your ribbing up through. I usually like to take one full turn behind and then start coming up through. And just stay in those notches that you created during the weaving process. And then tie that off. Nice and tight. Alright, and there's the abdomen of a woven stonefly pattern that I've been tying. So you can see how you get the nice segmented look with the brown maxim on the bottom and the orange antron, and then you have that nice pheasant tail color on top with those nice short fibers that are part of what really makes pheasant tail a good fiber. So you can see really interesting effect with that.